I am here with Larry Gold. Oh, no, no, wait. It's Brian Wang
Yeah.
standing in for Larry Goldberg. How you
Yeah.
doing,
We
Brian?
get mixed up all the time.
Yes, everybody thinks you look alike. So about the same age, all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Uh, we have had quite a week, Brian.
Hmm.
This is a week to remember. This is you could even call it a historic week. I can't believe how much stuff has happened this week, and most of it has been good.
Hmm.
Um, And what are you thinking about after 5 days of President Trump? What is your kind of main takeaway after this week of craziness?
I think there's a lot of execution happening. I think the main negotiations with other countries is going to happen, where Europe is on notice. With the discussion this morning at the World um, Economic Forum or whatever, where Trump indicated that they will, you know, have to. The global taxation minimum tax is gone, which was a European Union thing, and so that's happening. And then Canada, Mexico happen till next week, I guess February 1st, to do something with the border and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of activity there. And then inside, there's very interesting things in terms of um, where he's going to be trying to get his tax plan through. He still has to get his cabinet appointments in. He's sending Rubio over to Panama and stuff. So, things are happening. He's getting the people moving. Yeah.
So your takeaway is mostly on the international stage. That's where you've been concentrating on. Um, what about domestically? What do you think? What do you think over these first 5 days?
Um, well, until he gets his full cabinet, until they pass a bill, then certain things, you know, um, can't be done. But there've been, loads of action in terms of his um, executive orders and other directions, and just directing the um, agencies to comply or to get rid of things, get rid of waste and stuff like that. So I think that is happening. He's got a temporary person in at NASA and forcing them to change how they do things, um, requiring all the workers to not work remote. Those kind of things are happening. So things are happening efficiency wise, cost reduction wise. Um, you know, things that can be changed. Um, through executive action are being changed. Um, there's going to be a lot more oil and energy production. People don't think that happened. There's some concern that the shale producers, U.S. producers, are saying that they cannot increase as much as Trump would hope for. But I view that also as a negotiation thing, that they want to have more um, uh, leeway on that. But it's in multiple fronts. So he's also strong-arming Saudi Arabia and the Middle East to produce more oil, saying that that will reduce interest rates. He'll use that to negotiate with Iran and Russia, and he'll have the pipeline action moving in Canada. Canada's sending over, mainly Alberta, is sending over near 5 million barrels per day. And Kim O'Leary thinks that with Trump's action, this could increase towards 9 million barrels. That still takes some years to ramp, but you'd be trying to increase 500,000 million barrels per day per year, and it would impact prices, because if you increase oil production by 2 million barrels per day, like globally we produce slightly over 100 million barrels per day. If you increase it by 2 million barrels, that is um, the swing price thing. You shift the supply demand imbalance. 2 million more supply versus demand, prices can drop to like $40 a barrel. And then if you drop it, you have 2 million barrels short per day, that's when prices ship to $150.
Right, right,
And it can't go really outside that range because the world economy breaks, right? When you go over 140, what happens is you start killing demand
right.
because people can't buy it, right? If it goes below 40, then it starts killing the on the production side, right?
Right.
So basic, but you can have large impacts on pricing with these shifts. And by setting up future growth of that, and there was also that $500 billion announcement, related to that for AI, which needs energy, that you're on the trajectory of growth, which means that you would have expectations of, instead of 2% GDP growth, 1.5% GDP growth, 1% GDP growth per year, you can go to 3, 4, 5% by setting things up infrastructure-wise.
Okay, so basically, my big beef, you've heard me say it a million times probably, is bonds. That everything else right now, the economy is poised, it's ready to go. The only thing that's really holding us back is treasury bonds. But then you can take that and take a straight line from treasury bonds to federal government spending, because the deficit is what's causing inflation, and the inflation is what the bond buyers are concerned about. They're concerned that the inflation will come back.
Mhm.
So oil, gas, energy is the key
Mhm.
to inflation, or
Right.
than probably any other single sector of the economy, is
Mhm.
because everything is made. I mean, I could look around my living room right now and everything I look at is plastic.
Right.
So fabrics are plastic, and the curtains are plastic. The rug is plastic.
Right.
My ring light over here is plastic. I mean, everything around us is plastic, and the
Right.
things that are plastic, even the stand that I have my computer on right now, it's made out of steel, but it requires oil in order to make the steel into a part.
Mhm.
So everything is touched, and transportation, et cetera. All of it's touched by all this energy. To the extent that we can lower the cost of energy, and let's just use that oil at currently $70 a barrel, 73, 74, whatever it is right now, dropping it to $59 a barrel, which I think is kind of the sweet spot.
Mhm.
59, 60, 61 is kind of the sweet spot where the oil companies are perfectly willing to continue to produce
Produce.
more,
Yeah.
and the consumers are certainly happy to pay it.
Yeah.
If we get the overall energy picture more in the $60 rather than the $75 thing, that would drop inflation immediately.
Right. And actually, I think you probably can get down to $50 a barrel,
Oh,
because if you take it down, and Trump is saying, okay, we take down interest rates as well,
right.
right? So by combining the 1-2 punch of taking out energy prices and interest rates, then the oil producers can say, okay, my bonds, the interest rates I'm charging, because so much infrastructure is needed for the oil
Right.
production and the operations. Then if we can, if we take 2 steps of each back, then you get to where we were stable before, right? Where we had closer to that, $40 a barrel stability, and interest rates around, 3%, 2%. We know that is stable, and you can achieve that by, rolling them both back.
And of course, if you cut corporate taxes at the same time, then the oil producers and the oil converters and the oil and the plastics manufacturers, et cetera, all of them can also live on a little less profit, if gross profit, if they
Yeah.
have taken out in terms of
Yeah.
tax.
And if you have um, Trump's talking about tax cuts, extending the previous one he has, increasing them, but also have really credible Doge, government efficiency, right? And cutting things like, not sending $200 billion to Ukraine for war, that kind of stuff. And they can say, okay, yeah, this we would think that cutting the taxes would increase government deficits, but if we really balance this other side out, then we're taking it all down, and it all hangs together as a plan.
And we've had a week to look at Doge. We've seen some activity, and they've got they've added themselves to the deficit clock.
Hmm.
It's online, and I don't know. I haven't seen it. I didn't look at it today, but a couple of days ago, I know it was like at $8 billion that they had already shown in savings. I didn't
Hmm.
see. I didn't see how they broke that down, or if they're showing us more transparency. The VEC, I think, had said they were going to have a weekly like video that they were going to put out or something, kind of a newsletter video type thing. I don't know if that's still going to happen without Vivek, but it'd be nice to see where are these. I would think the savings on DEI alone would have made up that 8 billion, but I'm not sure.
Right, right. So I think there have been actions that have had significant savings. Um, but there's resistance to like the DI cuts, where they're trying to like rename, positions and stuff like that so they don't get rid of the people. So in terms of like fully getting the savings, they have to follow through and make sure that the actions actually happen. But I think this time, they're putting people into the position where there will be follow through. And there's also, I think, the willingness to like if Voice of America and other agencies, like they put someone in there, and then Voice of America, which normally you think is pro-American propaganda, they're resisting and saying they don't want to because they're infiltrated with all these other people with other positions, saying that they didn't want to follow the actions of the appointees that are being put in. Now, you know, in a normal operation, you can say, okay, that fight takes, a year or two. They try and drag it out. They fight every appointment, that kind of stuff. Trump can say, okay, you want to fight it? I eliminate Voice of America and the media, U.S. global media, whatever. There's a bunch of structure over there, and radio. Eliminate it all, and then recreate it new without all you people fighting me, right?
Yeah.
So there's that kind of action where it's like, if there is significant pushback that's actually delaying things a significant amount of time, they can say, I X your agency and then start up again. So then we get the smaller, leaner thing created. So that's what I'm expecting to see, that they're not willing to accept delays.
All right. So we've seen a week of it. We'll see what happens next week and the next week after that. But it's certainly, to me, been um, uh, everything I could have hoped for in terms
Yeah,
of us and all of, and yes, the kickback, you're expecting that. You're expecting people to have lawsuits to protect their special interest or their special area that they're concerned about. All that's to be expected. The question is, I think what we've got right now at the top is the kind of leaders who, once that lawsuit is filed, there's a workaround.
right,
There's
right.
there's another way to get the job done while the lawsuit is progressing. So we'll
Right.
see how all that works out. Let's
Mhm.
talk about Tesla for a minute. The Model 3, about a year ago, a little over a year ago, was introduced with the new Highland version. It was acknowledged across the board. I mean, every reviewer, the safest car with FSD, even safer. Amazing ride, maybe as good a ride as any luxury car. Super quiet, like a luxury car. Amazing performance. We had at least one reviewer out there saying that it was better than the best, street track, off the shelf car, like I forget what it was, a BMW 3 or something. I can't remember which one
Yeah.
it was, like that. State of the art tech. FSD almost to chauffeur status, potential money printer because of Cybertruck coming up. Uh, you know what I'm talking about.
The Model
Robotaxi,
Y? Robotaxi, okay.
Robotaxi coming up. So there's a potential money printer.
Mhm.
Amazing sound, priced really competitively in its class.
Mhm.
An unbelievable entertainment system. Nobody has anything even remotely like the entertainment system.
Mhm.
No upkeep.
Mhm.
Sales on Model 3 have been good, but not great.
Mhm. Right.
Okay.
Right.
It's the number two selling EV, but it's still, like, in terms of the overall sedan market, not doing crazy like I thought it would.
Mhm.
Well, now we've got a Model Y that
Mhm.
apparently has all of the stuff that I just listed
Right.
in a SUV, which is a more
Mhm.
popular form factor,
Yeah.
and some new goodies thrown in, like a light bar that's kind of cool, and some
Mhm.
other mostly fun stuff, but
Right.
a few technical advantages, a little bit more mileage maybe.
Yep.
So what do you think? Is it going to blow the walls off? Is it going to be even? It's already the best-selling car in the world. Is it going to be even a better-selling car?
Yes, I think it will be a better selling car. And then we also will have a kind of like a Foundation Series version, right? What they call it. It starts with uh, it's
They're
a
calling it a launch version.
launch version, right?
Launch-
So launch version, which will have mandatory full self-driving. So um, I think I'm expecting them to have maybe even 100,000 of the launch version. I think
Mhm.
that could go really well, which would be a significant boost to FSD and that kind of thing. And there is already 100,000, over 100,000 orders in China, and they said they'll have March deliveries, I think, in the US as well. So it's also selling in Europe. So it's by the end of the first quarter, they'll be moving in all the major markets.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that it will, because it's already the best selling and it is improved, I think it will have more impact than the Model 3.
All right. So I've, a couple of weeks ago, I started thinking about where could these sales come from? And the obvious one is, of course, people that have never had an EV. Those are the ones we're really trying to reach. But then it also occurred to me, oh my gosh, people that are driving around in a 3, 4, 5, 6-year-old Model Y, especially because the suspension, this is the number one thing that there was just a video. There's a video up right now. I'm forgetting the guy's name, but he's very well respected as a tester. And he was, he just couldn't went on and on and on about how the suspension was so lousy on the Model Y, and that
Mhm.
it's all fixed now.
Right.
And so, with that in mind, we could have a lot of people that are driving Model Ys now that are thrilled with them, but don't like the rough ride and would be upgrading. And plus,
Mhm.
just people that are ready to upgrade. It's, they had the car for 3 or 4 years. It's time to do it. But
Mhm.
that one occurred to me just a little while ago, and that would be disgruntled people that are waiting for their Cybertruck and they're tired of waiting. And this
Mhm.
is a really good car. So I did
Yeah.
a poll.
Mhm.
I did a poll. 17% of the people that answered the poll said that they are switching to Model Y. What do you think about that?
Well, you have the data. So, it's an internet poll, but still,
Yeah, yeah.
you got some direct feedback and so makes sense. Also, I think that they can, for the people who were buying the Mercedes and BMW and the other luxury cars that, including luxury SUVs and that kind of thing, where they had resisted because, I'm not going to get the Model Y. I'm not going to pay for the X or something like that. So they, this, you know, is like a, cheaper version of the X, right? Where you get, a more luxury vehicle that is more affordable and has better technology in the other ways. So I think that they do expand their total addressable market, with those features.
AJ, I'm going to be teasing out right now. He's going to be on later tonight at 7:45 on the same channel. And AJ suggested another category that I was kind of taken aback by. Well, we have the Trump administration not being very friendly to EVs. That unfriendliness may turn out to make Ford, General Motors, Stellantis, Hyundai, Kia, Honda, et cetera, in the US less aggressive in their efforts with regard to EVs, which would then provide more room for people that are interested in EVs to buy Teslas.
Right. Um, they're not that important. They don't make that many. I don't see how they slow down more than they've already slowed down. But if they do take away the $700 tax credit, that hurts their um, plug-in hybrid
Mhm.
market, right? So plug-in hybrids, because they got supported by the same $500 tax credit, would or at least some with 3750, that support goes away, which again makes the competition against Tesla weaker in the United States.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So what do you think happens with the three things we worry a lot of four things, I guess, that a lot of investors right now are worried about with regard to Tesla and the new administration with EVs in general. But so we've got the ZEV credits, we've got the battery part of the IRA,
Right.
we have got the $7,500 part of the IRA, and we've got some other. I think there's some of the what do you call it? The not the CHIP Act, but the other one, the Infrastructure Act. I think also had some stuff that had to do with building new factories and whatnot that might impact. So, do you think that these elements? Well, of course, I'm gonna caveat this. When SUV, I'm sorry, when FSD is unsupervised, I don't think it's going to matter. But let's assume for a minute that Elon's wrong. It takes until next year to do FSD unsupervised. Do you think that those things will impact 2024 sales?
Um, I don't
25,
think they
2025
25
sales.
sales. Yeah. I don't think that they can get a bill passed until, several months down the road, even if they operate quickly because they got to get people in and do stuff. And then when they do announce it, they would not have it phase in immediately. Not because they want to save Tesla, but because Ford, GM, no one else can react that quickly. They would have, hey, we have plans, you would have to phase it in, right? So I don't expect, removing the $700 tax credit to impact until, um, start of next year. Very earliest could be Q4, but, they'd have to, I would see that kind of like half phasing in there. So just implementing it would take time, passing the bill and then actually having the bill phase in. Um, the ZEV credits, zero emission EV credits, that is not a primarily US thing. It's like a Europe thing. It's a California thing. So states and foreign governments are doing more of the ZEV credit thing. It's less a US federal government aspect. Um, so then, and again, those credits are um, penalties that the other companies have to pay to California, to Europe, who are more into it, and then they buy those credits from Tesla. So not much impact there. The batteries, the U.S. needs to support the battery production here. So Trump wants to bring that production against the 80% of whatever that's being done in China. So if anything more must be done to support a new battery industry than those other credits.
So you are agreeing with me. Sounds like, which you probably didn't even know I said it,
Yeah,
is that
yeah,
Trump will be interested and care about the strategic situation with regard to the battery production.
right, right.
All right. All right. I want to go back to the overall economy and Trump again,
Mhm.
because I want to I want to I wish that some of the other analysts right now were being a little bit more honest. Is that the right word? A little bit more thoughtful about
Mhm.
the actual impact of the overall Trump doctrine. I mean, this is, for 2 or 3 years, it was like, is this the Bidenomics? And we're like, well, what does Bidenomics even mean?
Mhm.
Trump, it's really clear.
Mhm.
Trumponomics are the Trump doctrine in terms of the way that he thinks about it is spelled out on the hat.
Yeah.
Make America great again, America first. But all of the details are also spelled out too. Lots of energy production, lots of manufacturing coming home, but it's also illegal immigrants, especially criminal aliens, going home. There's all these different things. Well, all of them impact the economy. And I
Mhm.
don't see anybody taking that 35,000 foot look and
Mhm.
saying, okay, um, uh, out migration.
Mhm.
There's two sides of that. Talk to me. What do you think? How do you think the outmigration impacts the economy? Not the zeitgeist, not the culture. What do you think? What do you think the impact of having maybe 1 million people over the next 12 months going home and none coming in?
So again, that was happening before. even under the Obama administration, they would say, hey, he deported more. So a million, 2 million a year, that was happening before, right? So, and then, the previous administration, his previous administration, also cut down the inflow as well. So, so the that didn't impact the economy under Obama negatively. People are going to say, "Hey, Obama, you're wrecking the economy because of these deportations that you're doing," right? So, um, and the other thing would be that a million, 5 million low-skilled labor jobs doesn't really matter to the U.S. economy, right? The U.S. That you can just hire someone. I'm not paying $15 an hour. I'm paying $30 an hour. It didn't really impact me. Just like when minimum wage increased, people make a big deal about it, but it didn't really change things. It changed things for some people, but it's not a big needle mover. Like people end up finding ways around it where it's like, okay, I'm going to do it myself. I'm not going to hire someone to do something. I'm going to go and do my own plumbing. I'm going to do whatever, right? So I'm going to fix my own fence. It's not like there's no alternative that can work, right? Or, I really force my high school kid, now you must help me do the fence, right?
Right, right. That'll be the biggest thing,
Yeah,
because maybe the teenagers will have to work around the house again.
that's right.
Well, in the same way, then tariffs. I mean, I've talked a lot about the tariffs.
Mhm.
There's all kinds of workarounds. If there's a tariff on China, well, then you buy it from Vietnam. If there's a tariff on Vietnam, then you buy it from Equatorial Africa. There's lots of ways to go to work around, and that's just one, is changing the location of the manufacturing. Do you think that tariffs overall are, well, how do you think? How do you think tariffs, I mean, there's going to be some tariffs.
Right.
What is your thinking right now in terms of how tariffs impact the economy going forward?
Um, it's going to shake things up. Things will be, moved around different locations. It's people, companies, and people will have to adapt to the tariffs. You know, Trump's first administration, he introduced the China tariffs, and oh, we were buying so much from China. What's going to happen? And then he put it in, and then Biden kept those China tariffs in, right? So it was kept in, and we're still buying stuff from China, just a little bit less than maybe we would have in the alternative case. And then that was a pretty big thing, and it still worked out, right? And then when you know Canada and Mexico had the free trade agreement, right? That's when we took tariffs down from a high level down to a low level. So it was higher before and then became low. But was there some panacea when, okay, now we have free trade between Canada and Mexico, right? I was in Canada at the time. People, they had to keep putting out these articles saying, oh, no, 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 look, we got billions of dollars of stuff that actually happened, right? But in terms of like day to day, couldn't tell, could not tell, right? So, I think overall, you'll tell the margin and it will be, oh, look how big this is on paper, but it won't really matter. It will matter to people who work in those industries, where it's like,
Mhm.
and that was the whole point of strong popularity, was that when you actually lost the blue collar jobs away, right, those families lost the jobs. So now some of those people get their jobs out, not all of them, but be some. So at the local level, it'll matter. In terms of like when I go to the store and buy things, the fact that I don't buy something shipped from Mexico or Canada and it's just shipped from another state, same company maybe even with a different factory, right? It's like, you have to reading their label, was it made in El Paso or was it made, someplace else? It's like,
Exactly. Nobody pays any attention.
right.
Um, I was just thinking as you were saying that it hit me that the new trade agreement was put in about 7 years ago. And while I'm a great believer that leaders make all the difference, it's all, in sports, I don't care what it is, in a business, in a country, it's all about the leadership.
Mm,
So you've had Trudeau up in Canada since then. You've had a couple of presidents down in Mexico since then, I think. I can't keep track of who they've killed or who they haven't killed down there in the leadership. But but Mexico has come alive.
mm,
They are now a manufacturing engine,
right.
lowest cost manufacturing, good manufacturing country in the world right now. Canada has gone to the toilet. I'm sorry for your old for your old digs, but you know the value of the dollar up there has dropped from parity to I think it's 60 no 56% of parity.
Mm,
You know, in a pretty darn short time.
right.
Um, you think that the trade agreement had anything to do with that, or is it just leadership?
Um, Canada, only briefly had parity, I think maybe during COVID and during the Vietnam War for like, like a year. So most of the time, Canadian dollar is about like 80 cents, right? And then to the US dollar. And then is now at 70 cents. So it dropped, like, a dime, so like 12, 15%. So it's not all trade agreements that affect that. It's things like, because Canada, makes a lot of, uh, oil and gas exports, wood, all those kinds of things. So there's a bit more complexity to what caused that. Also, general overall productivity decreases, like not being able to keep pace productivity wise. So I think that matters more. The fact that um, Canada didn't can't do as much to keep its act together, but then all countries, like Japan, their currency went down to 160 yen to the US dollar when before it was at 130. So they relative wise they lost 20%. So I think the US dollar had strengthened a lot, interest rates and other things. Uh, and that so if the US takes the interest rate down, then that could actually balance it out. Because Canada had to cut interest rates in order to early because their economy wasn't going. So they got out of sync on that. If they kept interest rates level, then it would have kept their dollar stronger. Yeah.
So the last one on my list was business confidence. So every single measure, the S&P, you know, numbers came out this morning on what the buyers are saying, what the producer, no, not the PPI. I'm forgetting the name of the thing also. But anyway, so you get these are what the buyers are saying about their companies right now,
Mhm.
purchasing agents, and huge confidence.
Mhm.
Small business, huge confidence. They have to go back years and years and years to see the confidence numbers that we have right now. How do you think confidence impacts the first year or so of the new administration?
I think that a lot of businesses are hopeful. Even people who are anti-Trump, anti-Elon, you know, people like uh, Ross Gerber Kawasaki, for people, Tesla people who follow this kind of stuff. He was saying, yeah, Trump would be better for the economy, right?
Uh,
And that, he would, play it that way. He would hate it, but he'll make more money, right? So just like, and other people who, maybe pro whatever, they'll say, I hate it, but I'll make more money, right?
yeah.
But there's opportunity there, right? So thus, you know, the confidence numbers is it's a question of, do they like it or dislike it for whatever other reasons? But in terms of like the pure business thing is um, the economy is going to run better. It's going to be more efficient, better, more actual plans, interest rates, energy coming down. It's all good for actual business.
All right. So you take this all together. And a week or so ago, I did a program. I can't remember who was on with me that night, probably Larry. And I said, man, oh no, I think I did it a couple of 3 nights. I think I asked several of my co-hosts, I said, okay, we're going to be going into chaos.
Mhm.
It's going to
Mhm.
be chaotic. And a
Yeah.
lot of people are worried about the chaos.
Yeah.
So look at those same reports that talk about the confidence. People go, yeah, but we're a little nervous about these tariffs and we're nervous about this. And we're nervous. So there was What's going to happen? What's all the impact going to be? And yet the VIX is down to 14.5.
Right. It's again, it's like people don't have any memory. It's like 2017 to 2020 happened,
Yeah.
where the same guy was there, right? So yes, it's a bit updated. He has some new plans, right? But how he announces it, like there was an interview with Kevin O'Leary, on some channel, something like that, and he was saying, there's the the noise and the substance, right? People should know how much is noise, how much is substance, right? So when he says blah blah blah, and then he gets someone acting on a bill, well, that's substance, right? Something's gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
If he says he tosses something else out, that's a negotiating position, right?
Right.
It's like you have to be able to interpret what it is, and it's not like, okay, this is only the first week that we've ever experienced the guy before, right? He was like 4 years, he was actually in charge, and this is how he operated, right? 4 years he's been out, he's been talking, and then people knows what he's going to do. And now, he has a website where he said, you know, here's, the agenda, here's what we're going to do, blah, 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 right? So it's not like guessing and interpreting. It's like he's a lot of it being told, and there's a lot of other people, like people say, what does you believe, Elon and the forecast or this or that? It's like when Elon says something and when his people also agree with him. When Trump says something and everyone else is aligned and it looks like the vote is going to happen, Senate and House, you know, you can figure that. So people who are doing business all the time, who depend upon actually making a decision based upon what will happen, you need to look at how will this actually play out. And if you haven't figured that out yet, I don't know what your problem is. But like if you want to depend on me, my prediction record is pretty good by actually looking at the data and figuring out, okay, based on this, it's and all these other factors, here's how that plays out.
Yeah. So in other words, somebody who's playing the VIX,
Yeah,
having watched this week that we just watched,
yeah,
this is what I hear you saying,
yeah,
is that they could say, "Oh my gosh, Trump is doing exactly what he said he's going to do."
right.
So he's doing exactly what he said he's going to do, and since that's what he did in the last administration, he actually met his promises. What his promises were, he did, which is
Yeah,
very weird for a U.S. president.
right.
And I'm saying that because of Democrats. I'm saying for both sides.
Yeah,
Reagan, Reagan was that way. He had a list and he just checked it off.
yeah,
Trump has a list, he's checking it off. So then the VIX, the folks that are investing in the VIX on the VIX side of things might be going, okay, all right, now we know. All
yeah,
right, he's going to do what he said he's going to do.
yeah. And things like peace in the Middle East, normalized relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel. You have, the announcement of the $500 billion AI thing, and you have MGX, which is a UAE, investment fund with billions of dollars coming in supporting, SoftBank. And then he's in discussions with Saudi Arabia to do stuff. So their money is going to be aligned to it. They'll normalize, get, peace in the Middle East, like Arab and Israelis working together, right? And there was a plan to do um, from Europe to India to the Middle East, having some trade route and trade negotiations, which got blown up literally, with the October 7th attack and everything that a week before it was going to happen. He'll get that back on track again, right? And that will open stuff up. So it's not like he's doing only punishing things to Europe and to the Middle East. He's going to give stuff where it's like, hey, we're all going to make money doing this, and I'm going to make it happen. The other guy can make it happen. I'm going to make it happen, right? So in terms of business stuff, it's like stuff that everyone wanted to do and now will happen.
So would you expect to see, we've got Javier Milei, and we've got Trump, we've got Musk, we've got Italy. I
Mhm.
forget her name. I've never taken the trouble to learn it.
Mhm.
Do you think we'll see other countries? We've got a high potential in Canada of that new conservative when the
Pierre,
elections
probably, yeah,
or
yeah.
something. Yeah, yeah, he seems to be a solid guy. Do you think we'll see a bunch of countries starting to go? more the unwoke and the more fiscally sound approach?
Well, that trend was already happening in like other countries that already had shifted over, and I expect that to continue.
Okay. All right. Well, be interesting to see how that all works out. I always think in terms of um, in terms of economic war
Yeah.
between, your competitors,
Yeah.
it's better to have all of your competitors be strong.
Hmm. Hmm.
Not good to have weak competitors because weak competitors do stupid stuff.
Right.
Strong competitors do smart stuff. If everybody's doing smart stuff, then we all get rich.
Right. Yeah, you have to have them having something to lose.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have no leverage because they have nothing to lose. So, yeah.
All right, so let's see. Let's just review what happened today real quick. So the Dow did end up going down after being way up yesterday, down 140. The Nasdaq was down yesterday and today, down 99 today. S&P down 17, and Tesla is doing exactly what I said it would do.
Hmm.
So Tesla, I said I thought it would dribble down. It'll just kind of dribble down every day until
Hmm.
Wednesday because people are a little nervous about what's going to happen on Wednesday. And so it was down 580 today. A lot of that was following the rest of the indices, though. You can just, they're all kind of going the same way. So part of it would be the macro, and
Hmm.
part of it would be, I think, this idea that nobody wants to be too um, uh,
Optimistic over the skis. Yeah.
about Wednesday. Yes, yes.
Right.
Well, the traders. I mean, for most of us, we're not trading, so
Yeah.
we just do what we're doing. I happen to be ready to put some more money in, and I'm kind of trying to pick my day.
Yeah. So I think on the technical analysis, I think 390 is the bottom of the channel. So, if it could, another few down days, like $5 each day, and then get to 390 on the Wednesday, in that range. And then we have we have Jerome Powell in the morning and then the earnings call in the afternoon. So then we'll see. So if it's expectations are now low, so any kind of good news should give us a nice pop. So we'll see how good the news is. Obviously, I'm thinking the news can be really good, but we'll see.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So at the top of the range right now, are you still 480 is the top of the range unless there's really good news, like a breakout
Right.
news?
Yeah.
Okay.
480 is the top of the range, barring really, really good news. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Well, actually, you could if the whole market started ripping, then
Okay.
you could get to a 520. You could push up over 480, even with kind of like, not jaw-dropping news.
Yeah, and we've got quite a lot of earnings reports coming out in the next 10 days. I
Yeah.
mean, really significant earnings reports coming out in the next 10 days, plus the Fed, plus the PCE next Friday. So there's a bunch of stuff that could get the market going again. I think so, I think the market is taking a breather right now.
Hmm.
They've had, a week of Trump
Hmm.
with a lot of stuff going on. And I
Yeah.
think maybe everybody just went, okay, let's think about this for a minute.
Hmm.
That's kind of what it felt like today.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. And so, basically, the other things that we follow every day, the bond market um, was down, I believe. Yeah, it was barely, okay, two basis points, 4.617. I don't know what's going to trigger it, but I've been saying, I don't know if you have looked at the technicals on the bond market. I believe that where the bonds should be right now is 3.75.
Okay.
And so therefore, and I called it last time when they were at 5. I said that 5 is impossible, can't hold, won't go over that, and called it exactly on the channel. It's recorded.
Mhm.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so right now, though, I think 375 is where it should be until we get a little more help on inflation, or a little more help from the Doge Commission. Either one would probably do it. But we should be at 375. So I'm not sure when it's going to happen or what's going to trigger it, but there's going to be a bond rally, in my opinion.
Okay.
Not investment advice.
Right.
Close, but
Right.
not investment. Okay. As we talked about, oil's down. I think it'll continue to dribble down. What do you think? Will it dribble down over the next few weeks?
Yeah, because it's, on multiple fronts, like, pushing for more production from Canada, Saudi Arabia, everywhere else, US production. So the general expectation is that there will be more production in multiple places.
Natural gas up a little bit on the day, a buck, 1.65%. So it's back over $4. It's been really right at $4 for weeks now. Up 440, down 360, but it's been $4. It's been where it's at. I think once we get through the winter and we find out, probably by the middle of February, they'll be thinking spring, and we'll see what happens with natural gas, but probably going to come down is my guess. Gold, all-time high, all-time high. Well, okay. It came down off the all-time high yesterday, but now it's back up 1240 again today. I'm not sure whether I don't know what the tip was, the high point was yesterday.
I haven't followed.
It's 2007.77 right now. It was 2000, might have been 2007.90 even. Didn't go over 2800. But anyway, it's hanging out there at the all-time highs, and I've promised the crowd that I will do some study on that this weekend to see if it's still China, South Korea, India, the sovereign wealth funds that are buying up the gold, or whether it is whether there's other factors right now that are impacting. Bitcoin 105,205. Okay, you think is it gonna go to 150?
Yes, I think it will go to 150 this year.
This year.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, that there will be some reserves made. I also think that need to also follow Solana, and because those are the U.S. coins that Trump is using, and so I think, and he said that he's supporting the U.S. coins. So I think USDC and Solana, something like that. So a few other crypto coins I think might be worth tracking.
All right. Any last thoughts for today?
No, looks like was a big week, and next week could be even bigger. Especially for Tesla people. For Wednesday, we'll get to see what's going to happen. So looking forward to it.
And let me remind everybody, AJ, 7:45 tonight. Do not miss it. We go through well, not the whole thing, because it's like 80 pages long or something, but his entire stack with regard to his prediction of 76 cents. I will give that away, because if you're following him at all, he's at 76 cents for next Wednesday. But he'll go into the details, and I thought it was very illuminating. I had 4 big questions for him. He handled all 4 quite nicely. So, all right, that's all I got for now. And
Okay.
so been great talking to you.
Thank you.